Hey guys, thank you for joining me today for our online programming. My name is Mary Ann Wright and I'm a 4-H area educator for Lincoln University Cooperative Extension. Let's begin by reciting the 4-H pledge. I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living, for my club, my community, my country, and my world. Thank you very much. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about recycling. Tomorrow is Earth Day, and one of the major components to the Earth Day celebration is thinking on ways that we can reduce our impact on the world. And really when we think about that, we think of three things: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So reduce is reducing the amount of waste that we produce. Reuse, we want to concentrate on ways to repurpose things. And if we can't do that, then we want to be sure that we try to recycle. So when I was researching different ways to make a big impact and to be more environmentally friendly, one of the main things that I kept seeing was use reusable shopping bags and really try to reduce the number of plastic shopping bags that are being produced. So that's a really simple thing. And so today we're going to be making our own reusable shopping bag, and there are very few items that you need to make this bag. So the first is a t-shirt. You want to make sure this is an old t-shirt that you're not going to want to wear anymore. So maybe it has a stain or a hole, and before you toss it in the rag bin or the trash can, pull it out and you can make a bag out of it. The other things that you need are a marker, a paper clip or a safety pin, and a pair of scissors. Or if you have them, what really works better is a good pair of fabric shears or fabric scissors. So these are the only things that you need to start this project. So let's get started. I'm going to tilt the camera down so you can see what I'm doing here on the table. The first thing I want to do is I want to take my t-shirt and I want to lay it out in front of me. Now we are going to be removing the sleeves from the shirt, and this is going to be our handle of our bag. So if you want to use your marker, you can draw a line so you know exactly where to cut, or you can go ahead and just freehand it. So I'm going to freehand it today. I'm just going to use my pair of scissors and I'm going to follow this seam on the shirt. So I'm just going to go right beside the seam. There we go. And you're going to go with the curve of the seam here, right up to the top. And then one sleeve is off, so just set that to the side. And now you're going to cut your other sleeve off just the same way. So try as much as you can to go about the same distance from that seam, so that way your straps of your bag are going to be symmetrical here. Again, just put that to the side. Now these are our handles of our bags on the side. But our neckline is going to be where our bag opens. So we want to go ahead and widen this neckline. Now it doesn't have to be gigantic, but we do want to make it a little bit larger than the original neckline. So make sure you leave about 2 or 3 inches here for your strap. And then go ahead and cut around your neckline. And again, you want to try to make it as symmetrical as possible when you're cutting. So there we go. So now some of our major components of our bag are finished. We have 2 straps to our bag, and where it opens here. So if you decide, oh, I want it to open a little bit further down, you can go ahead and widen this, but make sure we probably don't want to widen our straps anymore. So where the armholes were, leave those, but you can play around a little bit with this right here. So now we have the top of a bag, and we want to now complete the bottom of it. So this is a no-sew project. So what that means is we have to figure out a way to close this off without using our needle and thread. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. So the first way is pretty simple. We are going to fringe the bottom and then tie it. So again, I'm going to move the camera down so you see what I'm doing. And you could use your marker to just draw a straight line across your t-shirt, but I'm going to use the width of my scissors, the depth of my scissors here, to be my guide for when I'm cutting. So what I want to do is right at the seam on the side, I'm going to go ahead and do one cut. So I'm going all the way to where I open my scissors pretty much as I can and then cut. So that's going to be my guide for how deep I'm going to make my cuts. Now every other cut in here is going to be through both the top and the bottom piece of fabric. So you're going to cut through both layers here to make our fringe. So I'm going to have my fringe be about 1 inch wide. And again, I'm just going one length of my scissors here for my fringe. So they're all going to be relatively the same depth. Okay, so you're going to continue all the way across your shirt. For time's sake today, I'm going to go ahead and show you what our next step is going to be in our shirt. So once you have it fringed all the way across, you are going to tie these together. So just use the fringe that are already grouped in pairs of 2. You have your top and your bottom layer, so that's your pair. So you're going to start, and you're just going to start tying here. And then move on to the next one and tie this one. You're going to keep doing this until you have every piece of fringe tied with its pair. Just like that. So when you finish, you're going to have something that looks very similar to this. It's going to be fringed all along the bottom. And at this point, you can decide if you want to stretch out your fringe. So I did that on this bag here. So I took one of my fringe layers, and what I did is I just held it at the knot and I tugged on it. And what that's going to do is just going to kind of curl that piece of fabric in on itself, and it really elongates it. So then you have more of that fringe effect. So that is our first way to close this. Now, if you don't like this fringe look on your shopping bag, one way to do it exactly the same, but fringe it and cut it with your shirt inside out. So that way, when you turn it right side out, your bag has a cleaner bottom. You don't see that fringe because the fringe is tucked on the inside of your bag. So that's one way to do it, and also an alternate version of that same technique. Now, a second way that you can finish your bag is, instead of cutting fringe at the bottom of your bag, all you're going to do is snip one hole. So this is going, pretend like this is the bottom seam of my shirt. So instead of fringing it all the way, I'm just going to clip it one time up to where that stitch is. So see, you still have your seam intact, but you've split it right in front of that. So if this was the bottom of my shirt, that's going to be that technique. Now, for the next piece, you're going to use one of your old shirts sleeves that you cut off earlier and set aside. So here I'm going to do that same thing. And again, on my shirt sleeve, I have a clean edge that has a seam on it. So I'm going to use that seam as my guide, and I'm going to cut right next to that seam all the way down. So I have a strip of fabric. There we go. Now right now it's connected by this stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this stitch here. So I'm just going to cut that off. So now I have one long piece of fabric. I'm going to take my safety pin, or I couldn't find a safety pin, so a paper clip will work just fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end of that and I'm going to work it through my piece of fabric here. So it looks like this. So just punch a hole through it there, and then you'll have that. Now, for this step, you are going to take your safety pin or your paper clip, and you're going to thread it inside this piece right here. So see how it's going right inside? And you're slowly going to work this down through the seam of your shirt. Remember, this is along the bottom. And when you run out of room on your paper clip, you can keep moving it down. But you're going to work until that whole edge is on this paper clip or your safety pin. So keep pulling it in, and then at the end you're going to get something like this. So it's come out the one side of the end of my shirt, and so I'm going to pull it as tight as I can. So keep pulling, keep bunching that up. So the point is you want to have the smallest hole possible at the bottom of your bag. So when you pull it tight, go ahead and double knot this. You can triple knot it if you want, because we want to make sure that this stays closed. Once I have it really tight, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the extra. And then, again, I have a shopping bag with a different closure at the bottom. So now instead of a fringe, it has a clinched bottom. So you see here there is a hole in the bottom of this because you have where your fabric's bunched around, and that's okay. Most of your groceries will be fine in this bag, but you want to make sure that you don't put small things that can slip through this hole if you're using this technique. But it does give your bag a slightly different look. So we have another option for making our shopping bag. But again, you don't need any needle or thread for this. And now you have a shopping bag that you can keep with you. So I like to keep a few of these just in the back of my car. So if I decide I really need to go to the grocery store on the way somewhere, I can just grab one of these out of the trunk, take it into the store. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you had fun learning how to make a reusable shopping bag. And I hope you join me again for our next online programming. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.